and he took my Yankee hat and he just started slapping me in the face with it.
From Bubba Ray Dudley slapping Sal Vulcano with his own hat to Soulja Boy getting into it with Randy Orton.
What are you talking about? I'll come to the WWE and smack the shit out you.
From backstage brawls to Twitter beefs, we're running through the wildest times celebrities clashed with WWE wrestlers. Let's begin with the Bubba Ray Dudley and Sal Vulcano incident. This incident involves Bubba Ray Dudley, one half of the legendary Dudley Boys tag team, and Sal Vulcano, who you might know from the comedy troupe The Tenderloins and the hit TV show Impractical Jokers. Now, what makes this story particularly fascinating is that it's actually been documented by Sal himself in incredible detail. In a podcast appearance, Sal recounted the entire incident with the kind of vivid storytelling that only someone who lived through genuine fear could provide.
I had fallen out of wrestling. I had watched like the first 10 years of like 85 like that, and then in 90 I gave it up, and all my friends, we had this beach house for the summer, and they were so into it. So 19 of us went to see this brawl at the beach, and we were waiting outside. It was like a 95-degree day, and we're online, and I didn't know anything about ECW at the time, and my friends were like, oh, that's Bubba Ray Dudley. He just pulled up in his car.
The setup here is crucial to understanding what happened next. This was during ECW's heyday, when the promotion was known for its hardcore style and intense fan interactions. ECW wasn't just wrestling. It was an experience that could get genuinely dangerous, and the wrestlers were known for their provocative interactions with the audience. According to research, the incident likely occurred on ECW Hardcore TV on July 17, 1999, involving the Dudley Boys attacking a fan, with Spike Dudley intervening. However, the specific details about Vulcano and the hat slapping may be misremembered, as no records confirm these exact specifics. But Sal's account continues with what can only be described as a moment of terrible judgment.
For some reason, I thought it would be funny, I have no idea why to this day, to yell out, "Hey, Bubba Ray Dudley, you fat So, remind you, this is the heyday of ECW, and he was across the parking lot a few hundred feet, right? And I was in line with a few hundred people, so I was like, he's not gonna know it's me.
Now, what happened next is where this story transforms from a simple case of fan heckling into something that genuinely crossed the line into physical confrontation. Sal describes Bubba Ray's reaction in terms that sound like something out of an action movie.
And my friend Jeff was like, Sal, he's charging over here right now. And I was like, come on, he doesn't know it's me, you know? And I turned, and the parking lot was bumper to bumper of cars, and he's jumping over them like fucking Bo and Luke Duke. He's sliding over the hoods of cars, coming at me from hundreds of feet away.
The visual Sal paints here is incredible. A professional wrestler in the peak days of ECW's hardcore reputation, literally jumping over cars to confront a heckler. But it gets even more intense.
There was stanchions, there was like metal stanchions with chains, and he picked up a chain and ripped a chain out of a stanchion. The chain popped out of the stanchion. I was like, this is just not good. He charged right up to me.
This is where the story reaches its climax, the actual physical altercation. According to Sal's detailed account,
and he took my Yankee hat off me and he goes, "What'd you just say?" And I was like, I just turned into like Rain Man. I was like, I'm just a big fan, just a big fan. I didn't say anything, just a big, and he took my Yankee hat and he just started slapping me in the face with it. That hurts though, just so you know. Like if someone slaps you with all they can with your cap, it hurts.
Now this is fascinating because it represents the only documented physical contact between a WWE wrestler and a celebrity figure in our entire research. The only instance involving physical contact occurred when Sal Vulcano, a comedian, insulted Bubba Ray Dudley outside an ECW event. Dudley responded by slapping Vulcano with a hat, as reported by Wrestling Inc. This was a brief, non-escalatory altercation, not a significant fight. But what makes this story even more remarkable is how it resolved and the long-term relationship that developed.
I met him backstage at like was it a TNT? What was it? We went to see some wrestling. I met him backstage and I told him, and he goes, "I remember you." But it was like 16 years later. And he remembered, and then we literally are good friends now. He's the nicest guy in the world, I promise you that.
But while Sal Vulcano's run-in with Bubba Ray was a throwback to the wild, unfiltered chaos of ECW's parking lot brawls, our next feud shows how the battleground has shifted. In the age of social media, wrestlers don't always need fists. They've got Twitter fingers. And when Shane the Hurricane Helms logged on in 2017, he found himself clashing not with a heckler outside the arena, but with none other than Mia Khalifa, who sparked a digital storm with just one bold bold opinion: the Shane Helms and Mia Khalifa Twitter war. This incident perfectly illustrates how the modern era of social media has transformed celebrity wrestler interactions, creating new avenues for conflict that previous generations never had to navigate. The story begins with Khalifa's appearance on a YouTube show where she made some pointed criticisms about WWE's direction. Research suggests Mia Khalifa criticized WWE in December 2017, focusing on Ronda Rousey's move to wrestling. During an episode of Out of Bounds on Complex's YouTube channel, Khalifa didn't hold back in her assessment of what Ronda Rousey's potential WWE debut would mean for both the fighter and the company. Khalifa stated, "This is where her career will go to die. I have no respect for the WWE. It's not a real sport. It's embarrassing. You go from real fights to wearing a sequin unitard and pretending to fight." These comments weren't just casual observations. They were a direct attack on the legitimacy and value of professional wrestling as a form of entertainment and athletic performance. What's particularly interesting about Khalifa's criticism is that it touched on one of the most sensitive topics in professional wrestling: the perception that it's fake or less legitimate than other forms of competition. For wrestlers who dedicate their lives to perfecting their craft and enduring genuine physical punishment, these kinds of dismissive comments can feel deeply personal. Enter Shane Helms, a veteran of the industry who had spent years perfecting his craft in organizations like WCW and WWE. It seems likely Shane Helms defended WWE on X, responding to Khalifa's comments with a humorous remark. Helms' response was both clever and pointed, addressing Khalifa's background while defending his profession. Shane Helms posted, "I'm not going to get upset that a porn star doesn't respect pro wrestling. She's entitled to her opinion. Our bodies take a pounding, and well, so does hers." This response was masterful in several ways. It acknowledged Khalifa's right to her opinion while simultaneously pointing out what Helms saw as the hypocrisy in her criticism. The genius of Helms' response lies in its layered meaning. On the surface, it's a simple play on words about taking a pounding, but it also serves as a defense of wrestling's physical demands while highlighting what some might see as the irony of someone from the adult film industry criticizing another form of entertainment. What makes this incident particularly noteworthy is how it demonstrates the evolution of wrestler-celebrity conflicts in the social media age. There was no physical fight. The interaction was confined to media appearances and social media, with no reported physical confrontation between Khalifa and Helms. The aftermath of this exchange reveals how these digital conflicts can have real-world implications. Helms's approach was seen by some as a witty defense, though it also drew criticism for potentially slut-shaming, as noted in some media coverage. This highlights the complex dynamics at play when public figures engage in online feuds. Every word is scrutinized, and every response can be interpreted in multiple ways. But if Helms kept it witty, Randy Orton brought the smoke. The next clash didn't just ruffle feathers, it ignited a digital wildfire. When Soulja Boy decided to take shots at wrestling, he probably didn't expect a full-blown war with the Viper himself. Spoiler alert, it got real ugly, real fast. The Randy Orton and Soulja Boy social media explosion. Perhaps no celebrity wrestler feud in recent memory has been as explosive, entertaining, and thoroughly documented as the 2021 social media war between WWE superstar Randy Orton and rapper Soulja Boy. This conflict represents the perfect storm of ego, social media amplification, and genuine animosity that can develop when two larger-than-life personalities clash in the digital arena. The origins of this feud trace back to a seemingly innocent comment that quickly spiraled into one of the most intense online exchanges in wrestling history. Research suggests Soulja Boy called WWE fake in March 2021, leading to a public X feud with Randy Orton. The conflict began when Soulja Boy posted on February 28, 2021, stating "rap game faker than WWE," which drew a response from WWE wrestler T-Bar on March 1st, 2021, and defending the physical demands of wrestling. But it was Randy Orton's involvement that truly escalated this from a minor social media spat into a full-blown war of words. Randy Orton then joined on March 2nd, 2021, with a series of X posts challenging Soulja Boy. Orton's response was characteristically intense and personal. "Fake? Dare this P to step up? He don't like movies? Consider us actors that do stunts without pads 200 days here and don't be when we get surgically repaired and come right back. Consider us 100 times tougher than anyone you've come across. Ain't nothing but a B ass." What's remarkable about Orton's response is how it perfectly encapsulates the frustration that many professional wrestlers feel when their industry is dismissed as fake. Orton didn't just defend wrestling, he provided a detailed breakdown of the physical and mental demands that wrestlers face, comparing them to movie stunt performers while emphasizing emphasizing the year-round nature of their work and the lack of protective equipment. Soulja Boy's response was equally intense and showed he wasn't backing down from one of WWE's biggest stars. Soulja Boy responded, "Do you know who the F I am? I'll bring the real to wrestling, don't play with me. Randy Orton, nan." And the exchange continued with Orton daring him to come to my world and say that. But Soulja Boy didn't just respond on social media. He took to his streaming platform to deliver what can be described as an epic rant that provided incredible insight into his mindset during this feud. In a live stream, he went into extensive detail about his feelings toward Orton and WWE.
You took that shit all out of, you blew that shit all out of context. And you up here tweeting all these racist ass tweets at me, talking about my baby mamas and talking about I'm being irrelevant and talking about bitch ass. You don't listen to the young.
This escalation reveals how personal these conflicts can become. Soulja Boy's accusations of racism add a serious dimension to what started as a simple disagreement about wrestling's legitimacy. His frustration is palpable as he addresses what he perceives as unfair attacks on his character and relevance. The rapper's response continued with increasingly heated rhetoric.
What you talking about, nigga? I'll come to the WWE and smack the shit out you, but that shit not real. Go to jail for that shit. That shit illegal. If I smack you, I'ma catch a charge.
This statement is particularly revealing because it shows Soulja Boy's understanding of the difference between WWE's scripted environment and real-world consequences. He's acknowledging that while he'd like to confront Orton physically, he recognizes the legal implications of doing so. His rant continued with a challenge that highlighted his frustration with wrestling's predetermined nature.
If I come to the WWE and we fight, it's gonna be fake. Pussy ass. Set that shit up in the UFC or set it up on the streets or set up a celebrity match where I can really beat your ass for real and don't get in trouble for it.
This statement perfectly encapsulates the central tension in this feud. Soulja Boy's desire for real confrontation versus wrestling's scripted nature. His suggestion of UFC or street fights shows his frustration with what he sees as the artificial constraints of professional wrestling. Perhaps most telling was Soulja Boy's assessment of the financial and career implications.
Nigga broke ass, you worth 11 million, you just lost like 10 million. I'm worth 30 million, you broke, you ain't got more money than me, you irrelevant. The WWE is fake and I stand on that.
Despite the heated exchanges, the feud remained confined to X, with no physical confrontation. Both parties exchanged insults over several days, but there was no evidence of the meeting in person, and the conflict eventually died down without further escalation. Now, if Soulja Boy thought things got messy, Cardi B made sure the next feud came with a whole cultural explosion. 1 minute, WWE name drops Cardi in a lighthearted segment. The next, Lacey Evans goes off script and all hell breaks loose. What was meant to be a cute shout-out turned into a feud that touched nerves far deeper than the squared circle. The Cardi B and Lacey Evans confrontation. The collision between rap superstar Cardi B and WWE's Lacey Evans in January 2021 represents one of the most unexpected and potentially career-altering celebrity wrestler conflicts in recent memory. This incident demonstrates how quickly social media interactions can escalate and how misunderstandings between entertainment personalities can have lasting consequences. The story begins with a seemingly innocent WWE storyline moment that spiraled into genuine controversy. In January 2021, during WWE Raw's Legends Night, Tori Wilson jokingly mentioned Cardi B as being in another room, setting up a comedic segment. This mention was part of a scripted WWE segment, blending reality with kayfabe in the way that wrestling often does. Cardi B, being the active social media user she is, saw a clip of this segment and responded with characteristic humor and mock outrage. Cardi B initially tweeted, "WTF, this is not how my WWE debut was supposed to be. Vince McMahon, count your fucking days." In response to the WWE segment, the tweet was clearly meant in good fun, showing Cardi B's appreciation for being mentioned while playfully threatening WWE's chairman. However, what happened next transformed this lighthearted moment into something much more serious. Enter Lacey Evans, WWE's sassy Southern Belle character, known for her military background and heel persona that often involved looking down on others she deemed beneath her standards. Lacey Evans then replied with, "Careful what you wish for, you nasty. We aren't at Nicki Minaj. You'll get sent home with more than a busted eye," escalating the interaction. This response was loaded with multiple layers of provocation, calling Cardi B nasty, referencing her past feud with Nicki Minaj, and making a veiled threat about physical violence. Evans's mention of Nicki Minaj was particularly pointed, as it referenced a real-world conflict between the two rap superstars that had included actual physical altercations. By invoking this comparison, Evans was essentially suggesting that Cardi B wouldn't fare well in a confrontation with her, using her military training and wrestling persona as implied threats. Cardi B's response response revealed that she didn't appreciate what she perceived as both disrespect and potential racial undertones in Evans's challenge. Cardi B responded with, "A white woman can't never put fear on me, sweetie. Got me fucked up. I was showing love to WWE the whole night yesterday. I don't know where the fuck you came from with your unnecessary bullshit," highlighting a personal and racial dimension to the exchange. This response from Cardi B is particularly significant because it shows how she interpreted Evans' comments not just as professional wrestling character work, but as potentially racially motivated personal attacks. Her mention of race suggests she felt that Evans was stepping outside the bounds of normal entertainment industry back and forth into something more problematic. What makes this incident especially noteworthy is the long-term implications it may have had for potential business relationships. The exchange is remembered as a moment where Lacey Evans, known for her heel persona, effectively provoked a real reaction from Cardi B, blending scripted wrestling drama with real-world social media interaction. The aftermath of this confrontation has been the subject of considerable speculation within wrestling circles. This incident is noted for potentially affecting plans for Cardi B to appear in WWE, with some fans and commentators suggesting it may have derailed opportunities, such as at WrestleMania. An X-post from August 16, 2023, by the Black Guy Wrestling podcast suggested that Evans' actions may have fumbled the bag on a potential collaboration. Reactions in the thread of this post varied. Some users, like at Golden Force 772, viewed Evans' actions as a public service, preventing an unwanted Cardi B performance. Others, like at Sheikh Zula, expressed skepticism about the value of such appearances, with sarcastic remarks like, "Y'all would have complained about her performing either way if we being honest, LOL." This split opinion underscores the controversy around celebrity crossovers in wrestling, with some seeing them as a way to attract new audiences and others viewing them as diluting the product. The incident also reflects the challenges of blending scripted wrestling narratives with real-world social media interactions, especially when celebrities like Cardi B engage with wrestling personalities whose actions are often in character. While Cardi's clash with Lacey brought the heat of race, respect, and real-world implications, the next celebrity feud came from the most unexpected place: Home Alone. Macaulay Culkin, a self-declared wrestling fan, saw Goldberg bury Bray Wyatt on live TV and decided he'd had enough. Spoiler: Goldberg didn't take it well. The Macaulay Culkin and Bill Goldberg digital duel. The 2020 confrontation between actor Macaulay Culkin and wrestling legend Bill Goldberg represents a fascinating case study in how generational perspectives on wrestling can create unexpected conflicts between entertainment figures from completely different eras and industries. This incident unfolded against the backdrop of one of WWE's most controversial booking decisions in recent memory. In February 2020, professional wrestler Bill Goldberg defeated Bray Wyatt, known as The Fiend, at WWE's Super Showdown event to win the Universal Championship. This match drew significant attention, particularly from fans critical of WWE's decision to favor part-time wrestlers like Goldberg over younger talent. The match itself was controversial for multiple reasons. Goldberg, then 53 years old, was seen by many fans as a relic from wrestling's past, who was taking spotlight away from younger, more active performers. Bray Wyatt's Fiend character had been built up as an unstoppable force, making his defeat by a part-time veteran particularly frustrating for fans who felt it undermined months of careful character development. Enter Macaulay Culkin, the former child star best known for his iconic role in Home Alone, who had publicly expressed his love for professional wrestling in the past. Actor Macaulay Culkin, a known wrestling fan, voiced his disapproval on X. He expressed frustration with the match outcome, stating in an X post that he had canceled his tickets to WrestleMania 36, scheduled for April 2020 in Tampa Bay, Florida. Culkin's response wasn't just casual disappointment. It was a deliberate protest against what he saw as WWE's backward-looking booking philosophy. In response to a post from the parody account WWE Creative Humor, which jokingly highlighted WWE's focus on building new stars like Goldberg, Culkin tweeted, "I've just canceled my tickets to Tampa Bay." This statement referred to WrestleMania 36 and signaled his intent to boycott the event in protest. What made Culkin's criticism particularly stinging was his status as a genuine wrestling fan rather than just a casual observer. Culkin's criticism was not isolated. He further engaged with fans on X, replying "Amen" to a user's comment and expressing a preference for seeing Gilbert, a comedic parody of Goldberg from the Attitude Era, defeat Wyatt instead. This level of wrestling knowledge demonstrated that his criticism came from a place of genuine fandom rather than ignorant dismissal. Goldberg's response was swift and dismissive, perfectly in character for someone who had built his career on projecting an image of uncompromising toughness. Goldberg responded to Culkin's criticism on X the following day, February 28, 2020, with a post saying, "Duly noted dork," accompanied by thumbs thumbs up and mad face emojis. The choice of the word dork was particularly interesting, as it represented exactly the kind of dismissive attitude toward wrestling fans that many found problematic about Goldberg's return. Rather than engaging with the substance of Culkin's criticism or acknowledging the legitimate concerns about WWE's booking direction, Goldberg chose to attack the messenger. But Culkin wasn't content to let Goldberg have the last word, and his response revealed both his wrestling knowledge and his sense of humor. Culkin replied to Goldberg's ex-post, saying, "Just don't try to tombstone me," referencing a botched tombstone piledriver move from Goldberg's previous match against The Undertaker at Super Showdown 2019. This reference was particularly cutting because it highlighted one of the most criticized moments in Goldberg's recent WWE run. The botched tombstone piledriver from his match with The Undertaker had become a symbol of concerns about older wrestlers being unable to perform at the level fans expected, making Culkin's reference both humorous and pointed. The Culkin-Goldberg feud on X was more than a celebrity wrestler spat. It reflected broader tensions within the WWE fan base. Many fans were frustrated with WWE's tendency to push part-time veterans like Goldberg, Brock Lesnar, and The Undertaker over emerging stars. What's particularly fascinating about this incident is how it encapsulated larger debates about wrestling's direction and audience expectations. Culkin's actions, including his threat to skip WrestleMania 36, resonated with fans who shared his frustration, while Goldberg's response highlighted the divide between wrestler perspectives and fan expectations. The feud also drew attention to Culkin's past interactions with WWE, such as his 2018 exchange with wrestler Rusev about a potential WrestleMania match, adding context to his involvement. This history showed that Culkin's criticism wasn't just a one-off complaint, but part of his ongoing engagement with wrestling as a legitimate fan. Despite the heated exchanges, the feud remained confined to ex-posts and media discussions, with Culkin later predicting in a Chicago Tribune interview that karma will get a hold of Chris Brown, and me, along with 99% of the world, will sit back and say I told you so, but taking no further action. Culkin's playful jabs struck a chord with fans, but the next feud wasn't about entertainment, it was about ethics. CM Punk, never one to bite his tongue, stepped into the ring of moral justice to call out Chris Brown. This wasn't a promo, it was personal, political, and painfully real. The CM Punk and Chris Brown war of words. Our final story takes us back to 2012, when one of WWE's most outspoken superstars engaged in a heated war of words with one of music's most controversial figures. The conflict between CM Punk and Chris Brown represents perhaps the most ideologically driven celebrity wrestler feud in our research, touching on serious issues of domestic violence, celebrity responsibility, and moral accountability. The backstory of this confrontation is crucial to understanding its intensity. CM Punk, a professional wrestler known for his WWE tenure, and Chris Brown, a singer with a controversial past, had a public feud in 2012. This incident involved social media exchanges and media attention, but did not escalate to a physical confrontation or WWE storyline. CM Punk was known throughout his career for his straight-edge lifestyle, which meant he abstained from drugs, alcohol, and tobacco. This wasn't just a personal choice for Punk, it was a core part of his identity and something he advocated for publicly. His straight-edge philosophy extended to his views on personal responsibility and moral behavior, making him particularly sensitive to what he saw as Chris Brown's lack of accountability for his actions. The catalyst for this feud was Brown's 2009 assault on his then-girlfriend Rihanna, an incident that had shocked the entertainment world and led to widespread criticism of Brown's behavior. In February 2012, CM Punk initiated the feud by posting on X, criticizing Chris Brown for his 2009 assault on Rihanna, suggesting Brown fight someone who could defend themselves and proposing a WrestleMania moment. Punk's initial challenge was both direct and loaded with moral judgment. "I would like it Chris Brown fight somebody that can defend themselves. Me curb stomping that turd would be a hash WrestleMania moment." This wasn't just trash talk or promotional hype, it was a direct challenge based on Punk's genuine disgust with Brown's past behavior. Mention the roids he is on has made it utterly impossible for him pleasure a women. These accusations struck at the heart of Punk's public persona and personal values. The steroid allegations were particularly insulting to someone who built his entire identity around clean living and natural achievement. For Punk, who had made his straight-edge lifestyle a cornerstone of his character, being accused of drug use was not just false, it was a direct attack on everything he stood for. Punk's response was swift, comprehensive, and delivered with the intensity that made him one of wrestling's most compelling personalities. CM Punk released a video statement denying steroid use, emphasizing his straight-edge lifestyle, and challenging Brown to a no-holds-barred fight for charity, saying, "I will choke you out, and I will make you feel as weak and as powerless and scared and alone alone as any woman who has the misfortune of knowing a sad, cowardly little boy such as yourself. This response is remarkable for several reasons. First, it shows Punk's genuine anger and moral outrage. This wasn't performative wrestling heel work. This was a man expressing real disgust with what he saw as Brown's cowardly behavior toward women. Second, the specific language about making Brown feel weak and powerless and scared and alone directly referenced the experience of domestic violence victims, showing that Punk understood the deeper implications of Brown's actions. The video also served to defend Punk's reputation and lifestyle choices. His emphasis on being straight edge wasn't just personal branding. It was a fundamental part of his worldview that Brown's accusations had attacked. By denying the steroid use so vehemently and publicly, Punk was defending not just his physical achievements, but his entire philosophy of life. What makes this incident particularly interesting is how it diverged from typical celebrity wrestler conflicts. Despite Punk's mention of a WrestleMania moment, there is no evidence WWE pitched a storyline involving Brown. Punk clarified in an interview that he did not want to work with Brown at WrestleMania, indicating no intention for a crossover. In a later interview with the Chicago Tribune, Punk made his position crystal clear. "I don't want to work with him at WrestleMania," indicating that his challenge was genuine rather than a promotional tactic. This statement is crucial because it shows that Punk's anger was real. He wasn't looking to turn this into a wrestling storyline or capitalize on the controversy for professional gain. The broader context of this feud reveals important insights about celebrity accountability and public responsibility. The feud was widely covered, with late-night host Conan O'Brien weighing in on his show, and Punk making media rounds to discuss the incident. This media attention showed that the conflict resonated beyond just wrestling and music fans. It touched on broader cultural conversations about domestic violence and celebrity behavior. Punk's stance also reflected his genuine commitment to social justice issues that extended far beyond his wrestling persona. Punk later predicted in the same Chicago Tribune interview that karma will get a hold of Chris Brown, and me, along with 99% of the world, will sit back and say I told you so, but taking no further action. Despite Punk's challenge for a charity fight, no physical confrontation occurred. The feud remained confined to X-posts and media discussions. This outcome actually reinforces the seriousness of Punk's position. He wasn't looking for publicity or entertainment value. He was making a moral statement about accountability and consequences. The lasting impact of this incident extends beyond the immediate back and forth between the two celebrities. It demonstrated how wrestlers, like other public figures, can use their platforms to address serious social issues. Punk's willingness to call out Brown's behavior, even at potential cost to his own career prospects, showed a level of moral courage that resonated with fans and critics alike. Public forums like Sherdog forums later discussed the hypothetical fight, with opinions varying on who would win, but these were speculative and not reflective of actual events. These ongoing discussions show how the incident continued to capture public imagination, with fans debating not just the potential outcome of a fight, but the moral dimensions of the conflict. That brings us to the end of this story. For more interesting stories like this, click on the cards on your screen.